Welcome to another edition of Your Impact Attack. That's right, it's your Impact Attack. It's all yours. This is your fault. You did this. Um, but we're gonna handle it for the most part for you. And who is we? I am Jamie the Vet Williams. Joining me as always is my tag team partner Brandon. And here's the tag. And no, no tag, no tag, no tag. You're gonna leave me hanging, like leave me
Oh,
hanging on the tag. Other way. Yes, there you go. Bam. All right. Well, we'll just we'll do a psychic tag. You know how that we can tag any part of the body. Um, there you go. Uh, Brandon, what's up, man?
not a whole lot, man. What were they thinking? I don't know what was up with this episode, man. It was PCO shit, dude. PCO, man.
You're telling me. You're telling me.
I mean, that says it all. That says it all.
The white Hummer is better. For those of you on audio only, this the my colleague's name there on the StreamYard is White Hummer is greater than Eddie Edwards and PCO. Um, but yeah, and we've already got some comments popping off. So I think that means it's time that we say hello to the people who are with us right now. I'll let you go ahead and rattle off those names.
Yo, what is up, Elizabeth? How you doing, Lab Rat? Hate Bot, yeah, pal.
Gotta have HateBot. And
Javi Uchida, and
well,
of
that's
course
what we
more.
got to start with. I'm sure we'll have some trickle in as we go. Um, but yeah. So
Don't know what means. Hate Bot.
what? Let's see. It's it's probably he's probably referring to your lower your
Oh.
lower third, but it's okay. He's already moved on to hockey scores. So as our resident Canada spaceman replacement, if somebody the problem with Canada spaceman is that he's in space, so none of us have any like real contact with him. I don't think he has any social media. So we have no idea, where he is, or when he's coming back down to Earth or anything like that. So when he disappears, then we have cause for concern. So if anybody knows where to find Kanta Spaceman, check on his ass. But in the meantime, yes. So a rotten episode of Impact, and not a lot in the news to talk about. I was looking over some headlines and stuff, and you probably already heard or will hear some of them on the Monday locker room with Ben Hameen. He went over some of those, and I was looking over the list again, and some of the best stuff that I'm finding to click on to read is like Mike Bailey says he doesn't know how wrestlers wrestle with boots. Like, okay. Um, and then you click on it and you're just like, this is I guess you guys definitely do get paid by the letter, at these websites, because you got to constantly generate stuff that is just kind of like, if you read the whole thing, you're just kind of like, yeah, like not news, not nothing like that. So no news to talk about really. Um, so anything, if you guys in the chat watching live have anything, then we could talk about it at the end, because we're definitely offering you an extended AMA or an AUA or whatever you want to call it. Um, so get ready for that, because this show ain't gonna take long to talk about, I don't think. Then again, I say that sometimes, and then we end up, having a decent amount of content. So who knows? But I don't know. We don't. I think we already, before we even went on the air, we agreed that this episode was a mess. Isn't that right? So.
But one thing I
Uh,
did notice, see any
mm-hmm.
lights?
just the little bit behind, like, the Death Dolls and, like maybe one other of those backstage segments, but they didn't do it. They didn't do the thing where they just put it on the wall, like that little, it looks like the stain on the wall. They didn't do that, but they did have a couple of them. But yeah, the lights have been missing. But right off the top, we're just going to tell you that, who else is missing is Moose. Like, zero Moose. His name was mentioned, and that's it. So the lights are not a substitute for Moose. This is part of the warfare. This is part of the warfare. Like, we have shamed them into reducing the lighting that they've been using on the episodes, and in return they've punished us. Their counterattack has punished us by taking Moose away with them. I didn't know it was a package deal. If that's the case, I might have to put up the white flag, Brandon. I just might have to say, you know what, you guys win. Just put Moose on the show. It's not right. So,
how about a compromise? Like, if they keep the lights like subdued like they did tonight, how about that?
It should be fine. But yeah, this is yeah, I'm not pleased with this.
No.
So, in any case, let's just get into it. Let's try to rip the Band-Aid off. Get it over with. Maybe we could set an all-time record for a short Impact episode.
Band-Aid on a very particularly hairy arm.
Yeah, or hairy something else. So we get the usual recap, and then after the recap, we get some. This is a harbinger, right? This is PCO in the desert. We're getting some establishing shots here that they're thinking they're very artistic with this. And then we see that he's alive, even though this is, if you want to go by their kayfabe standards, this was a week ago. So he's just getting up after getting hit by a car. Remember, this is PCO now. It's not like some other guy that's not constantly taking life-threatening bumps and getting right back up so the announcers can say, he's alive. So, he's alive. And then we go into the We Own the Night theme. And then we start off with a tag team match, playa, with Speedball and Octopus versus Decay. So, yeah. So these guys have a match. At one point, Crazy Steve bites Mike Bailey on his toe because he catches one of his kicks. And, that's one reason to wear boots, Mike Bailey, so somebody doesn't, do a impromptu kiss my foot match in the middle of your regular tag team match. But anyway, that doesn't stop Bailey from hitting the ultimate weapon on Taurus, and the other guys win. So we get one of those handshakes between the team, like, hey, we are shaking hands. We are friends. But there's some tension there. So, look at our subtle artistic storytelling. So there you go. Liz says the best part of the match was Speedball getting bit. Yes, please. So, yeah, there you go. That's our opening contest.
To Hatebot's point, it's Vegas. I'm sure they've probably seen weirder wandering around the streets in the middle of the night.
I'm sure they have. Hatebot also asks, why is Bailey aggression go over in a tag match when they have a match against each other in the next pay-per-view? Well, I think I kind of just... I was just saying, like, that's how it's just to build intrigue. Like, we've all seen, in Impact's defense and Jimmy Jacobs' defense or whoever, we've all seen the whole like, oh well, we're gonna have a fight because we lose a tag team match, but the other option is that, hey, these guys are just. Does everybody in wrestling hate each other? No, of course not. So they're just going with that route. I don't mind it. I'm not particularly excited by it either. It's just a way to do things. It's not the way they always do things. So,
Well, I could think of one angle where they had the partners who hated each other's guts and got some pretty decent length of material out of it was Matt Hardy and MVP.
yes. And how long ago was that? Now we're talking about 15, 16 years or something. Yeah, like
50 about 15 years ago. But that's also Matt Hardy and MVP.
Yeah. And didn't that start with them like having competitions before becoming a team? Because like MVP was talking about how great an athlete he was, so Matt Hardy challenged him to things that he absolutely can't do, like basketball and whatever.
Man, it was so long ago. I knew there was like some stuff that they like creative stuff they did outside the arena, but remember there's a U.S. title feud involved in there too.
Yeah. Well, that was right in the middle of my active run, and it was also during a dark time in wrestling. So I used to call those the dark times that were the worst times ever in wrestling before,
In the before
past
times,
few years.
in the long ago.
Yeah, yeah, and then 2019 happened. So yeah, next taping, Speedball returned twice the size since he was with Gresham. I don't know, Lab Rat. You'll have to tell us what kind of stuff Gresham is taking, because I'm sure he's tested on you first. Now we also got a question. We got Liz and Hatebot whether they should say, can we call the team Octoball and or possibly Speed Puss? So I don't know. That'll be up. Maybe that'll be up for a vote.
I will say one thing in this match that just like made me go, all right, you're telling the crowd is fake. Where you have Crazy Steve on the outside standing and staring at Speedball Mike Bailey the entire time. Bailey's like thinking about it and then goes to do a double springboard moonsault to the outside and then just stands there and takes it.
Well, I do have an out for that though. He's crazy.
That works too.
So I mean, I see you tried, but no, he's too crazy. That's completely makes sense. That's what a crazy person would do. Okay. Well, I guess we should move on, right? That we don't have anything else to talk about this. As Jerome Hall joins us, Liz, the Wonder Twin powers have activated with Jerome and Lizbeth, so now we got a full tag. That's a tag team right there. But yeah, do we have anything else to say about Speed Puss and Decay here?
Very shocked at how short it was. I thought it was going to be a lot more get your shit in, where it was, not even more than 10 minutes.
It sure wasn't. And they went over on Towers again. So, hey, remember when he was almost a thing here in Impact? Like, didn't he have a title match? So, I guess we're back to, how he was. He's got to be finishing up soon. Like, he can't be wanting to spend any more time in this mess going nowhere, right? Like, fighting for time on BTI. Like, it's time to go back to AAA full time, right? I think. I don't know.
He got what he needed from being there.
Yeah. All right. So next we have Team Josh is standing around with Gia and no music underneath. They get interrupted by Burt Macklin, FBI, and he's like, oh, so you're teaming up with the guys that you beat already because they're no threat to you, right? That's why I'm not part of this, team or something like that. That's basically what he puts that seed of doubt in there. And this looks like another one of those segments where it's like, is Rich Swann going to have to punch a man in the face like that? It's like another one of those, but it doesn't end up happening. He just walks off without incident.
That would be a great gimmick for him, like just haul off and pop people who have it coming to him.
Yeah, I mean, why not? And I thought that's what they were doing, but they just didn't do it here. So I guess he's learning restraint. Rich Swann is, and we don't want to get Rich Swann too crazy now,
Yeah, but it's satisfying to see people like, Macklin get punched in the face.
I think so.
And
Personally.
At least that's my thought process when it was like, let's give the crowd a little something to pop for. Just, a pop to pop.
Pop to pop. Liz asks, is it just me or did he look even weirder just walking around the trunk in the trunks? It looked like he was walking around in his underwear. Yeah, I guess so. The other option is to just walk around with the t-shirt on and then you look like you just forgot your pants, which is something I've always, I always used to joke about that. And I still do, I guess, with people that anybody that just wears the trunks and boots and nothing else, as their ring gear. But then whenever they're out there for an interview or whatever, they've got their merch, their latest merch t-shirt on, but it just looks like you forgot your pants. Like, because the trunks is really just underwear shaped, right? So it's like you just kind of look like you ran out there.
It's tight spandex underwear.
Yeah, so it looked like you ran out there and you forgot your pants. So I have always said that it's very simple. All you need is the little, the athletic pants, the tearaway, the windbreaker pants, any of those type of like those things that kind of make you look like you're sporty, but it's not like you have to expend any effort to take them off. Like, and then just come out in your gear for the match. That's my solution to that. It's not that hard. The Winnie the Pooh look. Yes, that's right. Hatebot wants to talk about the weird ribbed sleeve yellow t-shirt Alexander was wearing last week. Well, I think last week was when we should have talked about it. Javi says, get me Captain Underpants. Christopher Robin, where's my pants? Yeah. So that's basically, that was our thing. Bert walked in, tried to cause some dissidence, and then walked off. Any other thoughts on that?
That all three of those guys should know is that's exactly what he's doing and not fall for it.
So funny enough, as I'm typing my notes, and some of you Channel Attitude people know this. When I'm typing my notes on my phone, predictive text plays a role in this. So usually whenever I do with Gia and no music underneath, the next prompt is interrupted and then by, like the phone already knows that a segment with Gia is probably going to get interrupted, right? And then in my notes I put, for this, I put no music underneath, interrupted by, and then I had to put Bert because the person that they suggested in the predictive chat was Giselle. They put Giselle was next in my predictive chat. So I said, no, it's Bert. Typed in Bert manually and moved on. However, next we get Team Giselle with Gia and no music underneath. And are they interrupted? Yes, they are. They're interrupted by not Giselle again, but Swinger.
Yeah, Daddy.
And Zicky. And they're still, looking for their 50 wins. So they think they could beat Jay Vidal. So I guess they challenge him to a match here. I mean, that's what I took away from this. Did I miss anything?
Well, at least they pointed out that Swinger and Dice are idiots for not knowing that Jay's actually a wrestler, and that he was on the tapings last year when they were in Vegas.
Yeah. So that's a match we got later. Now, couple of things. First, Hatebot says Mrs. Hatebot Winnie the Pooh's around the house sometimes, and Liz says it's a perfectly acceptable girl thing. Yes, let's put the t-shirt and panties acceptable. T-shirt and underpants, not so much. Not so much. Yeah, t-shirt and panties. That's it's like a Jamie Foxx song, right? So there's something. All right, hey, take that picture down. We almost got taken off the air. He put Scott Woodford is here. And we all know he's too sexy to keep that picture up for very long. So if you decide to put up a comment from Scott Woodford, oh shit, do so at your own risk. Because you might get sucked back into the void. But yeah, so you're not going to be happy, Scott Woodford, because Moose is not on this episode. So it's just a very, very tragic turn of events for the man you met on the Jericho cruise. By the way, you did. I'm sure when you talked to him, you talked about the Impact Attack and you told him that it's the best Impact Wrestling podcast out there, and that he should stop by sometime. And if we're not going to have any Moose on Impact itself, we can at least have a weekly dose for the people that need it. Anyway, I'm sure you said all that, so I don't need to belabor the point. Burt Macklin versus Heath in a match. Wouldn't you know who won this match? Do you really think that the guy that's in contention for the title and it's been on kind of a roll is going to lose to the guy named after a candy bar? I don't think so.
Heath, baby, yeah. Who's your favorite wrestler? Heath. Heath what?
Heath. Yeah, I know you can't be Heath Slater, but I mean, can you just make up some? Where is Moose? Where is the champion? It's like the Ryu ending from Street Fighter 2. Yeah, just not. However, you are able to pre-order your Moose action figures. Moose's first action figure ever. If you go to his social media, I'm sure he's got links to the toy. I can't remember off the top of my head what the company is, and it is a premium action figure. At least I'm supposing it is by the pre-order price. Let me see here. I'm trying to pull it up. Yes, the Asylum store. What was it? Yes, the Asylum store is what it's called, and then they have like Epic. I think it's like Epic Toys, something like that. So you can all pre-order a Moose. If you're not going to get it on Impact, you can have a Moose with you at all times, and those, should be getting ready to ship around summertime, I would think. But you can pre-order now. And so there we go. Yeah, any other comments on this Burt and Heath match? No.
Other than looks like Heath might be not taking any advice anymore.
Probably in an off cycle of advice. Every once in a while you got to stop taking advice, stop listening to people and just kind of isolate yourself for a little while before you start going around listening again. It's just part of the routine. Yeah, so it's gonna sound like I didn't watch any matches when we're doing this review. The truth is I did watch them, and I'm like most matches on Impact, I'm watching them and I'm like, they're not really doing anything wrong. Not really doing anything amazing, so I don't really have anything to comment on. It's very much like, I don't know, just not a lot to talk about. I mentioned the Mike Bailey getting his foot bitten by Crazy Steve, right? I made sure to mention that because it was the only thing that happened in that short match that was worth noticing. But had I been putting on socks or something like that, I wouldn't have even seen that spot. So, I mean, that's how you could tell that I am watching, but there's just really nothing interesting to talk about. How many socks do I rate this match? Yeah, it was out of how many socks? 2? You normally wear 2 socks. So Out of 2, what do you give it? 1 or 0 or 2? Yeah, I don't know. I give this a 1 soccer. But next we get the Death Dolls. It's one of the minor instances of lighting. Excuse me. Now, I actually wasn't paying attention to what they were saying during this. However, I realized, hey, wait a minute, that you weren't paying attention to what they were saying during this. So I actually rewound it and watched it again. That's how much dedication I have for this show. So what they said was blah 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 blah. I'm just kidding. I didn't rewind it. No, actually, that is a true story. What they said is that basically what I get from it is they want to keep Jessica away from magic, right? Because we're talking about the coven and their black magic that they're practicing, the dark arts, if you will, or whatever other bullshit phrases they come up with, and they don't want Jessica to be around the magic because if she is, she might find out that she's actually Havoc and that they've been keeping that from her this entire time. Well, if you're on the audio only, Brandon has face palmed here, just like the meme. Yeah, do you have any commentary on that, Brandon? You don't seem to like the whole premise of Magic and Havoc and Jessica.
Oh, I thought it had been established that it was just a different side of her personality that like now there's like there was never it's mentioned as a split personality before, just like, hey, I'm happy now. Like it was never really, we never saw that. It was just it was more of another side of her personality coming out and being more dominant, not a split personality.
Yeah.
At least that's how it was originally portrayed and been developed since.
Well, that's why I'm asking, because I've forgotten. And I always thought it was stupid anyway and dismissed it. So I'm not going to remember those details. But, yeah, I mean, I'll take your word for that. Yeah, and what was it that caused the initial transformation? Did she suffer a head injury or something like that?
Oh no, you forgot.
What was it? Yeah, I forgot.
They went to the demon realm and Jessica walked into the light, and that basically.
Oh, she walked into the light. That's right. Okay. Yep, that's it. Well, Elaborate asked if Jessica's still sick. Well, she yelled something about that, like when she was off camera. Like she walked away because she. What did she go do? That part I did miss both times. Like I couldn't quite hear what they were saying, but she went to go get something or look for something, and you could hear her off camera.
No, mimosas.
Mimosas, right? Okay, so she's looking for mimosas, and you could hear her off camera saying, "It's gonna be sick" or something like that. So she's still getting her shit in there. Okay, all right. So there you go. Then PCO limps past the "Welcome to Las Vegas" sign, so he's getting close. It's almost like he knows when the show is and what's going on it. You think he's streaming it live on his phone on the Impact Plus app?
And amazing too, there's a camera guy who happened to be there at just the right time, and correct me if I'm wrong, did the announce team mention it throughout the night?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, well, at least that's the only part that made any sense.
Well, they should have mentioned, why's one of our cameramen out there in the desert? And they're like, we only get to see this quasi cinematic attempt at, the return of PCO from the desert. And we don't even get to see what we really want to see, or at least what I would want to see, which is the guy that's driving behind him in the rental car at like 2 miles per hour, just slowly trailing him with a camera shooting out the window. Like that's what I want to see. I want to see that shot.
Like you would have to completely redo the entire thing to make it make any kind of sense. Like you'd have to shoot it like, and present it like we got eyewitness footage of, from fans that they're seeing PCO. We have our camera crews down there to check it out and basically shoot it like an on-site report.
Yeah.
And then back at the show, you'd have to have Eddie flipping out and losing his mind saying, what do you over that happening.
Yeah. But that would require
thought and work.
Yeah. So there you go. And that would be seemingly cheaper and easier and quicker because you're supposed to not have high, like high speed, cinematic, you don't have to do as much work for that kind of stuff. All you need is somebody's cell phone and then you take a video and then that's it. You don't have to.
If you're trying to present this as real, that's as real as it gets. It's just somebody whipping out their cell phone and recording it in real time.
That's all that wrestling needs to be these days. If you want to try to do things that are different, all you have to ask yourself is that question. Well, how could I do this to make it seem like if this really happened, this is what would happen? So. So we get a little chat between the Gresham and Bailey, Speed Puss, Octoball. And Gresham thinks, Bailey's a great sidekick. So he hits him with that little backhanded compliment. Then Mike Bailey kind of shrugs it off. And, he says he wants to face Gresham at Sacrifice. Because he remembers what happened last time. So he wants to get his win back. And then that made me think like, oh, Jonathan Gresham got a win? I forgot. I don't think that's happened yet. But yeah, I guess it did happen that one time. And the one time that you used to give John Gresham a win, you beat the guy that you kind of were given a push. Which I wouldn't have minded. But it's just everything around Gresham before and after that's been the question mark there. I don't know. It's different. So they're looking like they're going into Sacrifice as kind of friends, but not really.
The only thing I could think of the entire time watching this promo is remember those like old like Looney Tunes cartoons of those cats of like they're like built like this and walk around like that.
Yeah,
that just through my head the entire time watching this.
That'd probably be preferable. All right, so now we get Swinger versus Vidal. So yeah, Zicky forgot Vidal was a wrestler. That's kind of the premise because he's surprised that he's out there saying like, I didn't know or whatever, like whatever he said. Like, I can't believe he's just beating the shit out of you easily. And then Jay goes up for something and Zicky grabs his ankle and he gets ejected. The referee sees him grabbing the ankle. It's like, you're out of here. Much like an umpire in the World Baseball Classic might eject somebody for unsportsmanlike conduct. Since we're talking about that in the chat too. Thought I'd involve them a little bit more as well. So anyway, then Jay gets put in a camel clutch at some point, and then Giselle and Savannah go and grab Jay's legs and pull him out through the bottom rope to get him out of the camel clutch, and then the referee ejects both of them too, and then as they're not quite leaving yet, they're just backing up and protesting, and then Deanna comes out and jumps them, and then security comes out, and then they get while all that mess is going on, Jay Vidal hits a leg thing. He does some leg thing with his leg to get the pin. I don't know what it was. Was it like a one-footed drop kick, or was it like a leg lariat or a running knee? I don't know what he hit him with, but he hit him with some leg thing, and that was enough.
Yeah, some kind of flying kick to the face.
Yeah. And there you go. What do you think of this whole deal?
I mean, just a little thing to keep Swinger storyline going and give Jay a match in front of the hometown and give him a win in front of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong with that. You can do that if you want. You're paying him? Are you just paying him to stand around and follow Giselle everywhere? It's not a good use of funds for such a tight wad company.
This is true.
But yeah. So next, another incident of the lighting. It's not just the lighting, but this is the design, and Diener's explaining to Callahan. Well, at first he's just explaining to the camera, I think, right? And then Callahan storms in and complains about what happened last week because he didn't have any time to ask them about this in the preceding 7 days. So he waited until they were doing it on camera and said, "Hey, what the hell was that?" And that's where we learned that step 6 was about Callahan taking his punishment like a man. And underneath all this was music. So if anybody ever forgets or wonders why I say Gia and no music underneath, it's because they used to put music underneath Gia's interview segments, and they still do it sometimes for other things that don't involve Gia in front of the sign. That's one of the changes that they implemented due to us, that has been a very welcome, part of the show. And some of you may have forgotten that it used to be there. And some of you may have also forgotten that we're the reason it's not. But they haven't given it up entirely. So they just happen to have an underscore, a score underneath this design meeting and some lights. So there you go. But other than that, I mean, is this a satisfactory furthering of this weird angle they're doing?
Well, the announcers alluded to it last week, and at least they made sense of why they did what they did last week. But this whole thing is still just something like this. You need to have an actual idea of where you're going in place, and actually have the 7 steps in place and have them make sense. Like this is not something you can just book on the fly.
That's right. Usually with step programs, they have lined out like the entire amount of steps beforehand. They don't just nobody has a step program that was like step 5 is beating Rhino on a random impact. Like that's
right.
You can't account for that. What if you never get booked with Rhino? You wouldn't have foreseen that, right? So
now, if you book it where he actually says things are going to happen and then they do end up happening, then that's something, but you're not doing that.
Right. They're not. Hatebot asks, if they listen to you about the lights, why don't they listen to you about Moose Moose? Well, because they're spiteful, Hatebot. That's why.
They don't want to give us too many wins.
Moose was all over the show when the lights were all over the show. So, go figure. So next, PCO is dragging himself and his shovel. I mean, he always had the shovel, but I just didn't write it down before. To Sam's Town, so he's there. He's at Sam's Town. It's a lovely casino.
I just can't believe the one time they thread a storyline throughout the entire show, it's this.
Are people at home with the remote like, all right, I'm turning the channel. Wait, PCO's on the way. I almost forgot. All right, I'll stay. I'll watch it. I mean, that's the only reason to bother doing a show like this. When we always talk about threading throughout the show, or planting seeds for things later, like that's under the assumption that people watch TV in the old style, which is usually when you tape up your fists and dip them in broken glass, which is but it also means just that you actually sit there and watch the TV programs from start to finish with commercials because this is the 1950s. TV is new. I don't know. Um, but anyway, yeah. So, but like you said, doing it this way, I'm not really sure it matters.
Are you looking at my headgear?
Ian. Yeah.
Church.
Right. So Shelly is your Impact Wrestling champion. Just in case Shelly Marsh. Jordan Grace asks if Mickey James should be getting involved with Bully and Masha before their title rematch. That was what I wrote down. That happened, right?
I guess they're keeping the whole thing between Grace and Mickey going.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited. Can't wait. Can't wait for Sacrifice. Yeah. All right, let's get to
the only thing that's being sacrificed is time spent watching it.
Damn right. Oh man, ain't that the truth? All right, Fat Eddie's in the ring. All right, it's come to this. He's talking. He said he made a conscious decision to leave the past in the past and focus on his future, but he can't because he's been stalked by PCO. But as of last week, it should be over. And then a video plays of the end of the dessert fight, and he's like, "Yeah, see, that proves it. It's over." You know that video? It's over. So, as soon as he says that, the music hits, right? Of course. Everybody was just like, everybody in Impact. This is how I imagine everybody in Impact. They're sitting around like Eddie's on the microphone, so they got to be like barely awake, right? And then they're just, oh, okay, when's this gonna be over? And then they're like, oh my God, PCO's here. Hit the music. Like that's just hit the music, play the video. God, well, I'm glad he's here. I'm glad I have my finger ready to hit his music. Because I thought he was dead in the desert, in the desert. But he doesn't even make it like halfway down the ramp before Kenny King jumps him with the shovel. So wait, he dragged the shovel all the way from the desert, but he left it at Gorilla or something? Is that what I'm meant to believe? That he brought it with him, and then just dropped it off before he made his entrance?
Oh, jeez, I haven't.
Yeah, right.
Or nobody paying attention and saying, "All right, we're watching the video and going, okay, here's where we were at. Okay, make sure we keep our continuity. Here's the shovel. Go out there."
You know what would have been funnier is if he brought the shovel out there and Kenny King just ran up behind him and grabbed it out of his hand when he wasn't looking and hit him. I mean, goddamn. So, yeah, but anyway, no, he had the shovel to begin with. So, I guess Eddie left it somewhere in Sam's Town. Maybe he left it by the breakfast buffet. I don't know. But he jumps PCO with the shovel, and then it's 2-on-1. And Hatebot says he likes watching a good beating. Well, this would have been it, because this lasted, according to my counter, about 4 minutes. 4 minutes of this 2-on-1 fight. Now remember, guys, we had just said the last time we had anything out at the ring, it was when Deanna attacked Giselle and Savannah Evans, and that lasted for about 15 seconds, if that, before there were more guards that ran down to break it up, because we can't have that. But yeah, I guess they figure, well, PCO's legally dead. We can let him do pretty much whatever we want. We don't need to help him. Whatever happens here is fine. Is that the thought process? I just want to connect the dots so that we get the picture, and it's Oh, I see. I've connected the dots. Okay, I see. Oh, it's just a pile of shit. All right, I got it. I see it now.
And also Impact is prejudiced against zombies.
Clearly. So, even though they do get a lot of screen time. But anyway.
And to make this even more stupid, the fact that they hit this guy with a car, he gets up and walks all the way there from where he hit him at.
A week later, to be fair.
Yeah. And they think that, and then Kenny thinks that putting a chair on his head and hitting it with a kendo stick really hard is going to put him down.
Kendo stick, right? Kenny the kendo stick.
Kenny the kendo stick.
Well, Kenny is stronger as a kendo stick than the car was as a car, so I guess proportionally it makes sense.
You know what? I'd be more interested in watching that match than watching Eddie Edwards versus PCO. Kenny the kendo stick versus the car.
The car, which we still don't know who's driving. Was it Kenny King?
They insinuated it could be somebody else.
Man, imagine Kenny King's not a small guy, so like if he and Eddie are eating the food, then Alicia might have already died of starvation. I guess that was a moment of silence for Alicia.
Or maybe PCO ate her, and that's why they're trying to get rid of him. So that's trying to bury the evidence.
Ah, I see. Maybe that's what he used the shovel for, and maybe that's where he left it.
Right, and because he's undead, he can't really digest the evidence.
Oh. So is he gonna just shit out a whole Alicia later?
No, he can't. And she just stays in there because he's undead. His body doesn't have his natural function, so she just kind of sits in there.
All right. Well, let's see if they write that out. Get to work, Jacobs. So yeah, this was stupid, but whatever. I guess I shouldn't worry about the lapses in logic of security when we're talking about a zombie coming back from the desert and everything, right?
That was a nice little detail he added in there, Hey Bot, that make sure I have one of the little bolts hanging off.
Right. Vladimir Kozlov. He's backstage. And he's hugging it out with Santino. And then Dango comes in and he's like, hey, is that... And Santino says that because of trademarks, you cannot say his name. That's how he says it. And when he says that, you know what happens. Joe Hendry pops out from behind a wall with the whole music and everything. And Santino and Dango both do the clap spot. And so basically Hendry wants to invoke...
They even ask too, like, are you just following us around or waiting here the entire time?
Yeah. So there they want to have continuity. That's where they want to have continuity. They don't want to worry about the shovel or anything else, right? So, yeah. But they got that covered. So, basically, Joe Hendry wants to invoke Myers' rematch clause for him for the Digital Media Championship.
Which is great character work. That's something definitely that Joe Hendry would do. Like, I'm going to give you a little boost, buddy. If you can't do it yourself, I'm going to lift you up first.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. Something that he would do. It doesn't make sense why we wouldn't see Myers wanting it or having to get talked into a match with this by Moose the last time we did see Moose. But yeah.
I think they did actually kind of have a thing where he kind of wanted to forget about it and move on, and then it was Moose that drug him back in.
Yeah. But now that he's in, he still needs Myers to help him out with it. See, it'd be one thing if he, like, ignored Moose, you know, and then Joe Hendry says this, and then Moose talks to him, you know, like if they had done that in a different order or they re-edited this, you know, their tapings to be like that, that could have been a little something. I don't know why I care. I guess I'm just trying to give you guys at least an hour here. Because I really don't fucking care. I'm pissed. I'm pissed. I'm gonna sit here and watch an episode of Impact with not even a Moose walk-in.
Not even a Moose sighting.
Well, in any case, so Dango is actually a huge fan and of Joe Hendry, and he wants to. He offers his services as he calls it, a gunslinger. If you ever need a gunslinger, and Santino ends up making a tag match for next week, which I guess this will fulfill Moose's monthly ring appearance. Will be next week. He's supposed to be in a tag match with he and Myers versus Dango and Joe Hendry. So there you go. And then Dango makes it awkward. And as I saw, that was my last note. Dango makes it awkward. And as I saw Hatebot say, I like awkward Dango. That shit was fine to me. He really buys in no matter what it is, which is true. I can't recreate what they did. Like, as I'm writing notes, I was like, I can't write this because I'd have to reenact the whole thing. And I'm just not, it just wouldn't be the same. I can't do it by myself. And I don't want to ask Brandon to have to play the part of Joe Hendry of just standing there or whatever. But just you guys, if you watched it, you know he's perfect at playing that whole, like, yeah. Just, if you're not busy later, it's whatever. Yeah, just the old. You know, Johnny Curtis's catchphrase used to be "Let's get weird." You know, it has been for a long time. Well over a decade, and I guess that can mean many things. So he's definitely making it awkward here, but it was funny.
Yeah, his timing is just, it's something else.
Yeah. So Liz said in her mind, he was gambling. I assume she means Moose. He was gambling in the casino with a hot chick, and they went to dinner and a search show.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Next is the main event. Almost. No, it's not the main event. This isn't even the main event. It's the Coven versus the Death Dolls for the Tag Team Championships. And we know that Taya has already appeared on AEW. So this is the drawbacks of taping a month in advance. You expose yourself when the rest of the world, you know, exists around you. But yeah, again, this is another match where I looked at it, maybe not as closely as I could have. So you tell me if you saw anything, Brandon, or you guys in the chat if you saw anything. But all I got out of this was that we have new champs, and Kylan King actually got the pin on Taya to win it.
They didn't play into any of the what they talked about with Jessica Havoc and the Magic.
Right.
Tarot cards didn't come into play.
Mm-mm.
There was no heat. It was other than just the title change, didn't really get any business done. I guess you could say it got Kylan King over because she was the one who got the pin.
Well,
and that finish looked pretty nice too.
Yeah, it was like one of those tilt-a-whirl somethings. So I guess things kind of make sense when you look at Bully Ray being involved with Impact, also not on the show, by the way. But that's fine. He's not Moose or anything. Kylan King is a product of the Dudley's wrestling school. So now her coming in and immediately getting over, it's like, okay, I can kind of see I see what's going on here. So sorry to interrupt. Yeah, so Liz says the match was meh. What were you about to say?
One thing though that kind of, at least to me, it felt like it kind of tipped the hand of the match result. And this is, I didn't read any spoilers. I didn't know what was going to happen going into it. Was when Rosemary got to bite in early in the match. I just, for some reason, that felt like a tell that there's going to be a title change.
Yeah.
So that's usually a spot that's built to.
Oh, the
Yeah.
bite spot.
Because she's a good worker. She knows that the crowd wants to see it and to build to it.
Okay, so you're saying by not doing that, that was a telegraph that.
I don't know if it was or not. To me, it just kind of felt like it. Like I don't know what it was. Just watching it, felt like something kind of clicked in my head and like told me. It just felt like there's gonna be a title switch, and I didn't read any results or anything like that. I don't know.
All right, yeah, you didn't. I did. I already knew it was going to happen before it happened. So guess I was looking. Maybe that's part of my disinterest in it. I was just like, if you know the outcome of a title match or any match really, you just very much squashes your desire to participate in most of it. So it's kind of how I looked at it. And I did watch it, like I said, but a lot of it just went right through my brain, one in one ear, out the other. So, yeah, I guess. But so yeah, new champions, and Taya's probably out of here. She may have one more appearance because there's another show before Sacrifice, so she might be on it. She might not. Not sure. Could find out. Don't care. But yeah, she's gonna finish up. She's already. It's look like they're making her the challenger to the next challenger for Jade Cargill in AEW. So will Taya be the one that breaks the streak?
Actually, Sacrifice is this Friday.
That's right. One more Impact before Sacrifice.
Oh yeah, I'm dumb.
It'll be the night before, and then they can say tomorrow night is Sacrifice, even though this was like at the beginning of March.
I'm dumb. I got my days. I got my days of the week mixed up.
Hey, it happens. So the main event actually is Team Josh versus the Bullet Club. So you got Josh Alexander, you got Rich Swann, you got that other guy, and then you got Ace Austin, Chris Bay, and Kenta on the other side. So we got a 6-man tag for our main event, and while it wasn't as egregious as, say, something involving the Motor City Machine Guns, it was a pretty standard 6-man tag, and you get to see a lot of the things you'd expect from a 6-man tag, including, some spot where somebody jumps on a pile of guys, Other than that, I was kind of looking out for Kenta here because I wanted to get your impressions and your thoughts about, what he does. But the true worker that he is, he left himself out of most of this. So if nothing else, you notice that.
It's kind of like, all right, what are my spots? All right, what do you need me to do? All right, I'll do this and this. All right, cool. That's it. All right.
Yeah, and what were his spots? Like, can you recall? He basically, one time he tagged in and kicked Rich Swann in the chest a few times.
He didn't do anything insane or crazy.
No. So yeah, I think he was smart in this to minimize his involvement, and that really stood out in terms of other guys trying to do stuff. And I think that's the best thing you can do in a 6-man, as little as possible.
Right,
from my experience.
Right, especially in an era where everybody's trying to get their shit in, you stand out more when you don't.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you're already Kenta. You being there is the high spot for some people. Like, some people Kenta is highly regarded in Japan as a future legend, if not current legend. His run in Noah in the 2000s, 20 years ago or whatever it's been, like going up from junior heavyweight to heavyweight and doing all the stuff that he did over there before he came to NXT. A lot of people think he should be on a Mount Rushmore of Japanese wrestlers. But after coming to the WWE and having a very unfortunate run, he showed what he's really learned with his time. It was not wasted. It just wasn't heavily pushed, or it was sidetracked because of injuries and other things. And also Vince McMahon not really knowing or caring what to do. And also the fact that while he was injured, they brought in Shinsuke Nakamura and Asuka, and they became the new fun toys to play with for the bookers. And he was kind of left out of it because he was injured and rehabbing. So he didn't really get that. And he wasn't as flamboyant as them anyway. So now what he's learned in that period of time, when he comes back to Japan, is now he understands what a match like this is. Perhaps younger Kenta would have been diving on people and getting a bunch of shit in and you know, doing that kind of stuff. Perhaps that. This current Kenta now knows, fuck this, I ain't doing nothing in this match. I'm going to learn, he's learned to work, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And he's also got some of the most hilarious promos that you can watch. If you go, like I keep saying, go to New Japan World. They have free content, and all of the backstage comments are free. And if you skip to the Kenta section, you'll be thoroughly entertained, I promise you. So yeah, that's what he's learned from his U.S. run. But in this match, if that's what you're hoping to see, is some of the old Kenta, if you knew about it or whatever, you weren't going to get it. Go ahead.
Similar story with Okada too, with his time in TNA. Like, people always say like it was a terrible time, and he came out saying, I actually learned a lot there about when it came to character.
Yes. Okada's the kind of person who can, he's just some kind of a genius prodigy. I don't know how he knows what he knows, but you would look at his time in TNA and be like, I don't know how you could learn anything there. Like, he wasn't there long, and they didn't do much, but when he comes back, all of a sudden he's the best wrestler. I don't know how it happened. He just gets it. He just does. His brain functions on a level that's different than everyone else's. So, but yeah. So what ended up happening in this match? I don't even remember who won.
Finish was a distraction from Macklin just standing there, just standing like off to the side of the stage, and Alexander just stares at him, and that leads to the series of events that leads to the Bullet Club going over.
Oh yeah, I remember they did a series of moves, and Ace hit the fold on somebody. I forget who it was. One of those guys. Who was the other? I don't even remember who the third guy was. Let me think. It was
Swan Kazarian.
Alexander Swan Kazarian. That's who it was. Who got pinned? Kazarian or Swan?
One is may have been Swan. I don't remember. I just know it was not Alexander.
Yeah, definitely not.
And why not have Macklin actually get physically involved in the match?
Yeah, I don't know. Was he out there without a shirt on?
No, he actually had a shirt on.
Oh,
surprisingly, yeah, he went out there without a. Yeah, he actually went out like he was in street clothes.
T-shirt and panties. Yeah. Not putting that over. Not putting that over either. Okay, well, there you go. That was. It's such a memorable Impact that even though I watched it a few hours ago, I don't remember who won and who lost in the main event. Does that tell you anything? It should. And we've got, like we said, we've established that there's another Impact before Sacrifice on this coming up Friday. So, well, we got, ladies and gentlemen, we have Scott Stapp has joined us in the Impact Attack. God. So I have this thing called the 1,000 Club, and I use it to refer to any songs that I've heard literally over 1,000 times. And it's not. It sounds when you say I've heard this song 1,000 times. That's usually like the exaggeration, like number, like that. That means like you heard it 20 times or whatever. But I know it's 1,000 because I did the math. Like I figured it out. The amount of times per day on the radio, working at a job that played the radio. So you can quickly do math and figure out, okay, in a this hour shift, this many times in a 40-hour work week for this many months, and so on and so forth. And there are songs in that time. If you listen to Top 40 radio, even today, it's the same thing. If you listen to Top 40 radio, if you work at a job, you will hear those songs 1,000 times. And any of those from Creed, like, like what were you just humming, like With Arms Wide Open, and of course My Sacrifice.
Can you name me
Yeah.
higher?
Yeah, those two are in the 1,000 Club. Arms Wide Open and Higher are in the 1,000 Club, and I hate both those songs. I hated them the first time I heard them. The 1,000th time I heard them, Creed will always have heat with me. The best song they ever did, if you can call it that, is What If? But that was before they got the kind of songs that you would play like 1,000 times. Yeah, so there's that. There's the Creed story. I don't know. So I guess it's Q&A time. If anybody's got anything, Hatebot said he had things, but I don't know. Buckshot Kid's just making his cursory appearance. So that's good. I was worried. It's come to find out Buckshot Kid actually has a life beyond, or at least he's pretending to have a life beyond Twitch streams and Humming Media Group shows. So, we can't expect him to always be here every second of the day, but we're glad that he showed up.
I thought Creed was Eddie Vedder's doppelganger.
Right. He definitely heard that whole Eddie Vedder, Scott Weiland, like that early 90s, and was like, well, yeah, that's what I do. That's what anybody that can't sing can do. They can all do that. But Nickelback is one of those bands that everybody claims that they don't like, and yet somehow they sell millions of records and are still around and on touring and all this other stuff. So either everybody's lying or only the people that don't like them speak up, and everybody else is just very quiet about it, and as they buy CDs and concert tickets and stuff. That's my thoughts on that. What about you?
The hate for them always felt like it just came out of nowhere. And it was just like, really, like, why? What specifically is it that makes everybody hate them so much?
I think it was just that period of time with the ubiquitousness and the mediocrity of their music. Like I find Nickelback songs to be very hit or miss. How You Remind Me is in the 1,000 Club, but that song's actually really good. The only reason I don't ever like to hear it is because I've already heard it 1,000 times. But every once in a while, if you hear it and you haven't heard it in a while, you actually are like, yeah, that was a good song. But they've done a lot of stupid songs. And a lot of just, fine. This is fine. It's fine. But yeah, hate requires more effort than I'm willing to put towards Nickelback. So it's just kind of like, yeah. If people like that sort of thing, that's the kind of thing those people like, as Jim Cornette would say. So let's look at what else here. Did you watch the UFC this weekend? I actually didn't. I never really get to watch the UFC. I never get to watch it live because I have to work. So I'm usually sleeping right up until. And then I saw that it was Usman and Leon Edwards again, and I was like, well, this is going to go to 5 rounds. Like, it's going to be a gonna be a slow. You know what? If Kamaru Usman is so fucking great, just beat the guy, man. What are they doing? I don't know. I heard Society Review said he got robbed. Usman got robbed in the decision. I don't know. I didn't see it. What do you guys think? Did he get robbed, or did they make the right call? So, okay. Talk about Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling, DDT Girls Wrestling. It's bad. The end. My stock comment is they have girls in Tokyo Joshi Pro that make Maki Ito look like Bret Hart. Who is your favorite WBC player and why is it Nolan Arenado? I'm just going to tell you this. Like, if Ben Hamid paid me to do a show about the World Baseball Classic, I still wouldn't watch it. I might do the show, but I'm not going to watch the World Baseball Classic. What are the stakes of being the World Baseball Classic winner? Like, what does that ever matter in terms of, like, when do you hear about it?
Is it like an actual coming together of world baseball players of like the best of the best?
Yeah, well, you play for your country's team, so like even if you're all major league players,
so
like if you're a Japanese player, you'll play for the Japan World Baseball team, even though you signed with an American, you know, like Otani's on the Angels or whatever team he's on, but he's going to play for Team Japan.
So wouldn't this actually technically be a bigger deal than the World Series since it's actual like teams around the world?
It would, except for one important thing.
It's not
no
American.
other country besides America matters in sports. Take that, world. Of course, I'm being facetious with that comment, but that's the true thoughts of Americans. Nothing exists outside their bubble. Kamaru Snoozeman, says Colin. Yeah. Nobody watching that shit for Usman Edwards. The real main event was Justin Gaethje. Well, I didn't watch it, so I couldn't tell you. That was another one that went to a decision, didn't it? Yawn. Champions always get the nod when it's close and goes to the judges. Usman has gotten some of them. Well, I don't know. Hatebot, you're not even gonna watch Japan? Is that supposed to be some kind of a shot at me? Like, like I like everything from Japan. I just talk about the things from Japan that I do like. I mean, the baseball team isn't one of them. So it's not bigger than the World Series, but it's a really cool concept, and they play hard. Hey, good for you guys. I'm just throwing back what I feel like other people would say. You know, if I were talking about something similar, or what I hear people say. You know, like they'd be like, well, why should I care if such and such and such and such? Like all those Japanese wrestlers that you don't care about because they're not on American TV, so they didn't make it in the business. All right. Well, it looks like we're running dry on topics. So this could be the end. Is this the end? Could be the end. All right. Well, we can start wrapping it up, and we can tell the people where they can find us.
Whoop whoop. As always, you can find me on Twitter at TransArchistTia, as well as on Twitch at Miss Tia the Transarchist. And always, my favorite place to be every Monday night, right here on the Impact Attack. Whoop whoop.
Whoop. It's definitely not watching the baseball classic, and it's definitely not watching Monday Night Raw. So it's got to be the Impact Attack, right? It's got to be the number one show on Monday nights when Monday Night Football's off and nothing else is going on. And of course, you can find me at Opinion Haver on all the social media platforms. You can definitely catch me on the Next Level Wrestling review. the only thing that's not definite is whether it's Big Ray Hernandez, because Big Ray got sick on his birthday. He went to the show last week. Yeah. Yeah. Stomach flu is not an excuse to not do a show, guys. If he has, he's run to the bathroom in the middle of shows before. I don't see what would be different this time. So anyway,
And also, perfect solution too. Ma'am, toilet.
Right. Have Jen bring the bedpan in there. Basically, what we did was Jimmy T and I recorded an episode that's on channelattitude.com for you all to enjoy. We had a good time, so please check that out, won't you? And but he should be back. Ray should be back this week, and of course after WrestleMania weekend, when we do the talk about the NXT Stand and Deliver and everything, we're going to have Mike Mondo on there to talk about those matches and break those down with his scientific wrestling brain. So that's going to be excited. Look forward to that. That show's probably going to be like 5 hours long. It's going to be a WrestleMania size show. There's that. What else can we talk about? We can talk about Wrestling with Rib Rogers, of course, every Friday, where Rip and Von Lilas take your questions and talk to you about stuff. And as long as there's no technical issues, it's usually a pretty good time. And sometimes I'm featured, so you never know when I might pop in as a guest. You can always check that out, of course. Shout out to Stevie Richards, who's been putting out content this whole time, and he just recently released about a 35, 37, whatever it is, minute video called What Happened, where he will tell you in his own words everything that he's been going through lately. So if you've been worried about Stevie, if you've been wondering about Stevie, you've been thinking about Stevie has answered, and I would say, as for anybody, it's probably a must watch. You should be watching this. Even if you didn't think too much about it before, you should probably think about it now, because there's a lot that you can take in from just this 1.5 hour video. So please check out Stevie Richards, and his he's going to be documenting his whole journey back, just like he said he would. And this is a good starting point if you want to get on board with the Stevie recovery train. And he appreciates all you guys that reach out to him during this time. And it's even worse than we all thought. But I'll let him tell you that story. And with that, I think we're out of things. So, yeah, that's another Impact attack in the books. Even though it's yours, we tried to take care of it the best we could, even if Impact itself isn't worried about it. But yeah, for Brandon, I'm the vet, and I don't have a sign-off line.